It's okay for you, no? Okay, ma'am. Very good morning to you all. Let me take the privilege of inviting you all for this webinar on raising legal age of marriage for women, organized by the Department of Women's Studies, Center for Women's Studies, and Center for Women's Safety of Sri Padmavati Mahila Vishwavidyalayam. On behalf of the organizers, I extend a very, very warm welcome to Professor Jayashree, Madam, former professor of Department of Women's Studies, Sri Padmavati Mahila Vishwavidyalayam. And I extend a special welcome to the today's expert speaker, Ms. Asha Ramesh, Madam. I also extend a warm welcome to Professor G. Sandhya Rani, Madam, Head Department of Women's Studies and Center for Women's Studies. I wholeheartedly welcome all the invitees, teachers, students who are here on this platform. Very, very warm welcome to you all on behalf of Sri Padmavati Mahila Vishwavidyalayam. Aged marriage has a great influence on the physical, mental, sexual, social, and economic life of a person. The Union government is planning to bring uniformity in the marriageable age of men and women by increasing the girls' age of marriage from 18 to 21 with an intention to lowering the maternal mortality, which is 145 for 1 lakh live births, and also to improve the nutritional levels of women. So heated discussions and debates are going on across the country on this issue. With this backdrop, we, the Department of Women's Studies, Center for Women's Studies, and Center for Women's Safety, initiated this program to have better understanding about the government initiative and make our students to aware of the current happenings on the issues related to women and girls. So that's how we are all here. And I extend my sincere gratitude to Asha Madam, who is readily accepted to enlighten us on this theme. And before listening to the speakers, I request Professor Sandhya Rani Madam, Head Department of Women's Studies, to speak on the theme of National Girl Child Day 2020 and its significance, since this webinar is being organized in connection with the National Girl Child Day. Madam, it's over to you, Madam.
Thank you, Nirja. Good morning to our beloved colleague, Dr. R. Jayashree, Ms. Asha Ramesh, today's webinar resource person, Dr. N. Rajani, Dr. S. Madhuri Paradeshi, Dr. P. Neeraja, coordinators of Center for Women's Safety, heads and staff of different departments, and my dear participants. I deem it a privilege and honor to be a part of this webinar planned to conduct in connection with the National Girl Child Day on the topic Rising Legal Age of Marriage for Women. In the backdrop of 75 years of Indian independence, Azad Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the conduct of webinar holds its own importance in order to spread public awareness about the inequalities that girls face in Indian society, to promote awareness about the constitutional rights to girl child, and to increase awareness on the importance of girls' education, nutrition, and health. Coming to today's webinar theme, recently the Union Cabinet on 15th December 2021 took a decision to raise the legal age of marriage for women from 18 to 21 years. With the decision of the government that is going to bring very shortly, the age of marriage for both men and women are going to be at par. For centuries together, child marriages are very common in our Indian society. Even in this computer age also, they are prevalent in some parts of India. This type of customs led women to become victims of this social evil, and they are all away from availing the fruits of the development. This resulted in widening the gender gap in our society, hence the inequalities are still there in many spheres. As per National Family Health Survey 5, 23.3% of women aged 20 to 24 were married before they turned 18 years. This problem is more prevalent in rural India at 27%, whereas in urban regions it is accounted for 14.7% of all marriages. The Government of India sees this legislation as a strong measure to bring women on equal footing with men in keeping with the vision of the Constitution on gender equality. This move is also being cited as a step that will allow women to attain psychological maturity before marriage, exercise their reproductive rights before and also better and take decisions on family planning and use of contraceptives. Some experts, however, cautioned with that this move might backfire as it didn't address the underlying causes of early marriages and ignored existing socio-economic differences in our society. However, at this above, it is really necessary to discuss on this topic and arrive at certain fruitful deliberations. I take this opportunity to congratulate my colleagues for selecting an appropriate theme. I conclude here and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Over to Neerja.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you,
so
one and
much.
all.
Yes, madam. Thank you so much for enlightening us on the significance of the theme. Now, I request Professor Jayashree madam to say a few words on this occasion. Madam is a retired professor at Department of Women's Studies who is possessing 35 years of teaching and research experience and in the field of women's studies and population studies. And she is a very good administrator. During her tenure, Madam held many responsible positions like Head Department of Women's Studies, Dean School of Social Sciences, Humanities and Management, Dean of Examinations, Director of Distance Education, Director of Admissions, Student Union Advisor, Warden for SPMVV hostels, Coordinator of UGC refresher courses, etc. And as a coordinator of UGC refresher courses, she has conducted 3 refresher courses in women's studies. And she is the recipient of a State Best Teacher Award from Government of Andhra Pradesh in the year 2010. And Madam has completed 6 research projects funded by UGC, NIPSID, CSR, UNDF, etc. And Madam was the BOS and advisory member of many universities like Algappa University, Gandhigram Rural University, Pondicherry University, Berhampur University, Gulbarga University, Bharatdas University, Annamalai University, Bijapur University, and Rajiv Gandhi Institute for Youth Development, Sri Parambudur, etc. And she is also life member in many professional bodies also. And she has visited many countries like China, Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore for academic purpose. So with this very, very brief introduction about Professor Jayashree madam, I invite her to say a few words on this occasion. It's over to you, madam. Madam, please unmute yourself, madam. No, madam, you're not audible. I'm not able to hear, madam. I don't know what about others.
No, can't hear her.
Yes, madam. Jayashree madam, we can't hear you. I'll call you. మేడం వినిపించట్లేదు మేడం మీ వాయిస్ ఎందుకో
Is muted.
Yes madam, unmute, you have to do unmute. But అది mute లోనే ఉంది మేడం. It's in Madam, are you facing any problem in unmuting yourself? I'll call. Maybe Madam is struggling to unmute herself. Can we move on to the today's speaker? Madam? Can you, Asha, Madam?
Yes, I'm fine.
Yeah, 1 minute.
But Jayashree Madam wanted to.
Yeah, okay, Madam. Then 1 minute, ma'am.
Nirja,
Yes, Madam.
Jayashree is also co-host. She can unmute herself.
Other than Madam, maybe she's struggling. I don't know why.
Okay, let us proceed and she
Yes,
will
madam.
join afterwards.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Rajini, I hope you are there.
Yes, madam. Madam, the slide is visible now, madam?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Let me have the privilege of introducing today's expert speaker, Ms. Asha Ramesh, madam. Madam is a gender and development consultant and also the women's rights activist, hails from Bangalore. She did her post-graduation in journalism and public relationships. She did many certificate courses in reputed institutions like IIMs in India and foreign universities like Bangkok, Amsterdam, even UN training centers, etc. Madam was selected as a Ford Foundation Advocacy Fellow to the Advocacy Institute, Washington, D.C. in 1991. She was an expert committee member of the National Commission for Women during the early 2000s. She is a founder member of an organization called Onde Day, working with the sexual minorities. Currently, she is the National Resource Person on Gender for the Government of India in National Rural Livelihood Mission Program, where she works closely to steer and guide gender-related work in the northeastern states of Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, and Tripura. She is also empaneled as a Master Assessor for NIRD, that is National Institute for Rural Development and Panchayati Raj. And she has developed a monograph on the status of women in Karnataka for Government of Karnataka. And to her credit, she has presented several papers, both in state, national, and international conferences. She has held several senior positions both in government and non-governmental organization like Water Aid India, Christian Aid, New Delhi, Center for World Solidarity, Hyderabad, National Alliance of Women's Organization, New Delhi, etc. And Madam is also associated with several grassroots women's organizations across the country. She works with the marginalized and invisible. She was the subject matter specialist on the issues of women and political participation in a technical unit set up for the preparation of 4th World Conference on Women held at Beijing in the year 1995. And even she teaches gender studies for the students of a National Institute of Advanced Studies, which is one of the premier research institute of Bangalore. And another notable contribution of Madam for the empowerment of women is, as a researcher, she did a study on the Devadasi practice, which helped to the government of Karnataka to formulate a law to prohibit the practice. She has worked on several projects concerned with the gender mainstreaming and evaluation of gender-related programs, conducted many researches, particularly on women in local governance. She has conducted several evaluations and gender trainings nationally and internationally, including the gender mainstreaming of the Platform for Action, the Beijing document for the government of Bangladesh, their Ministry of Women and Child Affairs. She has actively advocated several campaigns for increasing sensitivity and policy making, especially on the issues related to violence against women, including the recent legislation on sexual harassment of women at workplace 2013 Act. She was an active member in the advocacy and campaigning for extension of the existing legislation on women's reservation in governance to the state and parliament levels. And she is a life member of the Indian Association of Women Studies, Young Women Christian Association, where she was a mentor for young women from India, Myanmar, and Sri Lanka. She was member of the Karnataka government expert group to gender mainstream, the sector paper for the 12th five-year plan. As an external expert, she contributed to the chapter on Women and Child Development in the Economic Survey of India 2013. She was part of the Government of Karnataka Committee set up to draft the state policy on women's empowerment. She was a member of the Government of Karnataka Working Group on Gender and Human Development of the State Human Development Report 2015. And she is the board member of a National Center for Advocacy Studies, a national level organization known for its people-centered advocacy and policy advocacy. She is also on the board of a Dalit women's organization, Sanchanele, in Karnataka, and closely associated with the grassroots mass-based organizations such as Tamil Nadu Women's Forum and Tamil Nadu Dalit Women's Movement. So she is the focal point member for the Women in Power program of the Asian Pacific Forum on Women, Law and Development. And Madam also member of Internal Complaints Committee in several institutions. And it's a really wonderful opportunity for all of us to hear Madam, because she's the one who is working with all the apex bodies of both the national and international levels. On the other hand, she is also working with the grassroots, minorities and invisible sectors of the society. So I extend my sincere thanks to you, Madam. I will just stop here because her contributions are enormous in the field of women studies. And thank you so much. My sincere gratitude to you for accepting our invitation, Madam. And it's over to you, Madam. Please take over the session.
Thank you so much, Dr. Neerja, for that really elaborate introduction. I'm really humbled by it. And I feel really privileged to have this opportunity to make this presentation. So without much ado, maybe I should go ahead, and I have a slide presentation to present, the basis of which I will give my talk. So is it visible?
It's visible.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So today we are talking on the issue of raising the legal age of marriage for women. And I really would like to extend my thanks to the Department and Center for Women's Studies, which is in association with the Padmavati Mahila Vishwavidyalayam Tirupati is organizing this webinar. Now, as we all know, recently it was on the Independence Day that the Prime Minister made this announcement of the government's intent to come up with the age of marriage to be increased for women. And what he said was that in the interest of health of daughters and sisters and to save them from malnutrition, it is necessary to increase the age of marriage. And further, of course, the government also argued that it is important to increase the age of marriage, to have access to education, and also to reduce the IMR and MMR, that is the infant mortality rate and the maternal mortality rate. Well, very, very laudable, the intent, but how does it actually play out is something we need to understand. So I will start with really giving a brief on the different laws related to child marriage before we actually get into the discussion. So pre-independence, we had the Child Marriage Restraint Act, which I'm sure many of you all would have heard about, used to be commonly known as the Sarga Act. And in that, the age of marriage was 14 years for girls and 18 for boys. And subsequently, 2 times the age of marriage has been changed after independence. In 1949, from 14, it was increased to 15. And thereafter, when it was found that, there's very high incidence of maternal mortality and infant mortality, and the women's bodies in the parliament, they called for increase of the age, and that's again in 1978, it was increased to 18 years. Now in 1978, it was also post the first World Conference of Women, which had taken place in 1975. So there also a discussion on these issues emerged, and there was this demand that the age needs to be increased, and that is how post the first World Conference on Women, it was increased to 18. At that time, also a very important document had come out, which was known as Towards Equality, a very, very comprehensive report on the status of women in India, which was chaired at that point of time by none other than Dr. Veena Majumdar, who was one of those people who was responsible for starting the Women's Studies Center in the country. That's how we have the All India Association of Women's Studies. So this was, in fact, when the amendment took place, it was one of the first social reform issue that was taken up by an organized group of women. Now, the other laws which come under the personal laws, there in the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, the age was 16 for girls and 18 for boys. And in the Muslim personal law, it was marriage as per puberty, which was kind of defined as 15 years. And in the Indian Christian Act, it was 1972 Act, the age was prescribed as 21. So anyone under 21 was defined as minor. But since the legal age of marriage was 18, so even if the age of the girl happened to be less than 21, with the permission of the guardian, the marriage could take place. That was as per the Indian Christian Act. The Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act of 1936 defined 18 years for women and 21 years for men. And then we have the Special Marriages Act of 1954, where again it was 18 years for women and 21 years for men. Then we also have the Foreign Marriage Act of 1969, where it was again defined as 18 years for women and 21 years for men. Maybe one may wonder, what is this Foreign Marriage Act? This is, of course, if you sort of marry somebody, a foreigner, that's one, or if you are getting married out of the country. Then the existing, the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006, which has undergone various amendments. This defines child as 18 years for child marriage for girls at the age of 18 and for boys at the age of 21. And it also recognizes that child marriage as a valid marriage, but voidable at the option of the minor contracting the marriage, which means a girl has the right to say no to such a marriage. And the time that is given to cancel this marriage is 2 years. So within 2 years of becoming an adult, it can be annulled by the guardian. Now, there are various other legislations where it has been clearly specified that the age is 18. That becomes the critical age. For instance, the Majority Act 1975, it stipulates 18. So you become a major once you're 18. Your right to vote as per the Indian Constitution is 18. The Juvenile Justice Act defines child as under 18, regardless of. Then the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012, which is commonly known as the POCSO Act, also defines child and any person below the age of 18 years, regardless of sex, as a child. So 18 is is really a key number, and that's what we have been following so far for all the major legislations. Now, where we do find some variance in other laws are related to some of the child labor laws, where due to certain occupational hazards, etc., there it is defined that any person under the age of 14 years is defined as a child and adolescent between the age of 14 and 18. You have the Factories Act, you have the Plantation Act, you have the Beedi and Cigar Workers Act. And in all these three legislation, a child is defined as under 14 years of age. Okay. Though there is variation in the marriage laws, in some of the labor laws, but by and large, in most of the other major laws, 18 is the age that is clearly stated. There has also been a demand earlier to come up with a uniform age so that you have the same age. You don't have any difference in the age of the girl or in the age of the boy. You could have it, it should be on par. These were also recommendations that had come up earlier. And these recommendations were suggested by the Law Commission and also by the National Human Rights Commission to bring about this uniformity of age. Because it was the argument behind it is that when you are entering into a marriage, it is a journey of equal partnership. And therefore, the Constitution clearly talks about equality. So why should there be a difference? So that was the argument. And therefore, there was this recommendation to have parity of age. Also, CEDAW, which is a very well-known international covenant, which talks about, it's a convention for the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. So this is also seen as discrimination when you have different ages. And this was endorsed by the government and has been ratified by the government of India, which recommends that the age should not be less than 18 and also recommends that it should be the same for both of them. Yeah. Now we come to a very critical issue, which again is very closely associated with marriage, the whole aspect of consent. Now, consent is a burning issue for the youth. Currently, the age for sexual consent and for marriage is the same, which is 18 years. We also have a ruling by the court, Supreme Court, which has recognized the live-in relationship. And that is recognized since it comes within the ambit of Article 21 of the Constitution of India. The court further held that live-in relationships are permissible and that the act of two adults living together in any case cannot be considered illegal or unlawful. So again, this also will create a lot of issues, because when the age is going to be increased from 18 to 21 and sexual consent is legally agreed upon as age of 18, is society going to be okay with live-in relationships? While the court has agreed, taking into account a clause within the Constitution, but is the society for such an arrangement? That's something we need to also keep in mind as we discuss further. Now, what are the problems envisaged with the government's move to raise the age of marriage? Now, the first aspect has been that it has not come through a consultative process with organizations working on the ground. An expert group was formed of largely of bureaucrats and perhaps some academicians and some legal experts. Absolutely justified, but it was necessary that it should have gone through a wide consultation across the country. And this used to be the processes earlier. If you all would recall, when there were other legislations, even when the dowry amendment law happened, when the dowry amendment law of 1961 it was being discussed, I still recall there were kind of roundtables held across the country to really decide on what should be done regarding amendments. When the law of rape required to be amended, when the Mathura gang rape took place way back in 1974, again, there were massive consultations across the country with women's organizations working on the ground, with academicians, with jurists, with people belonging to different sectors. And thereafter, those laws were amended and introduced. So that kind of a consultative process has not taken. You have the intent coming out on Independence Day from the Honorable Prime Minister, and then suddenly, soon after that, the ball gets rolling, and there it is in the form of a bill, which will soon become an act, and will then definitely impact the lives of millions and millions of young girls in the country. So that's one thing which there's a serious reservation about the whole process. Then the other aspect that we also need to flag is there is this very, very well-known program called the flagship program of the Honorable Prime Minister, which is Beti Padhao and Beti Bachao, which means, you educate the child and educate the daughter and protect the daughter. And what has been evidenced is that even with such schemes where the intent is there to really help in delaying marriages, that really has not happened. The ground reality is very, very different. Just last month, I was in some villages in Tomarrow, in Kanchipuram district and in Tirupati district, and I was having discussions. It was related to another issue, but it was also talking about, what are the issues of violence in the villages and that need to be addressed. And one of the issues that kept coming up was we still have a lot of child marriages. Of course, we tend to now call them early marriages because it's not as though girls are being married off at the age of, 10 or 12 or 13 or whatever, as it used to be earlier. But certainly girls are still getting married at the age of 16, 17, certainly below the age of 18. This is the ground reality. The third question that arises is, what preparations has the government made to ensure that raising the age of marriage will be effective? And those preparations can only be thought about if you've had a consultative process. And if that process is not followed, then you're going to come up with something which is not going to really be in the interest of the society. So I think these are questions that we really have to be thinking about and ponder over it. Now, what are the challenges? as I already mentioned earlier, for the youth, this is a burning issue. The whole aspect of sexuality. We are aware that because of, you could say, the media, there are various other factors that are impinging. The sexuality, indulgence in sexual relationships is beginning to happen at a very early age. And we cannot wish away this reality. Therefore, one has to address this aspect. And the law of the land allows for sexual relations once he or she is a major. And therefore, when you are talking about marriage at the age of 21, what happens to this aspect? Live-in is accepted legally post 18. But again, is the society ready for that? To allow for a live-in relationship and then get married at the age of 21? I think these are aspects that also need to be thought about. Education. The Constitution says that there should be compulsory education till the age of 40. It's all very well written. We have a very, very dynamic Right to Education Act. But is that actually getting translated into action? Going to the villages, and we all know that in most villages, you have either primary school, you definitely have a primary school, you may have a middle school, some villages may have a high school, but there are many hundreds and hundreds of villages where there is no high school. So if the girl has to pursue her education, she has to go beyond her village. And that poses many other problems for poor parents. Has transportation facility been taken care of? That is not taken into account. What about the whole issue of poverty? Most of the time, girl children are dropping out of the school because of poverty, taking care of siblings, because mother has to go to work. These are the harsh realities that are staring at us. Where is the government made the necessary preparations to address these aspects? The education budget, where has it been increased? I remember in the Beijing conference, one of the commitments that we had asked the government of India to endorse was to increase the budget education to up to 6% of the GDP. Where is it now? Education and health are low down in the rung. Even the health budget does not go beyond 1.8 of the GDP. Percent of the GDP. So where is the government really being conscious about these very critical issues when it is thinking of increasing the age of marriage? Okay, when we talk about access to justice, now, this girl, if she is 18 and she gets into a relationship, that doesn't, it falls apart. Even under the law, she will not be able to get justice because they will say that she is underage. She will lose her matrimonial rights. So I think it is very important to consider all this. The budget, where is the budget? As I just said, the budget for education is not there. You may introduce a law, but if you don't have appropriate budget to ensure that that legislation is actually going to be effective by preparing the other important sectors that impinge on, sort of, I would say, enable the law to be really effective, and it's pointless. You need to increase the education budgets. You need to have more schools. You need to incentivize the parents to send their children, particularly girl children, to school. And in fact, in the more recent times, in this time of the pandemic, we have seen high incidence of child marriages taking place across the country. So what is the government doing about all that? I think that it needs to pay attention to. Yeah, so raising the age of marriage without addressing the root causes responsible for early marriage will not yield the direct results. On the contrary, a multitude of problems will emerge which will be detrimental to the lives of women. And we all know that just introducing a law cannot solve the problem. We have seen that in the case of dowry. We have seen that in the case of, even with amendments to the rape law. We have seen that in the case of, we are seeing it in the case of the early child marriage laws. Even after increasing the age, still child marriages have continued. From 16 to 18, the marriage law was amended to increase the age to 18, but did it stop? So we have to really think through these things very clearly, and just, introducing a law will not help unless that initiative is coupled with adequate institutional mechanisms, incentives, and appropriate budget allocations to realize the effectiveness of increasing the age of marriage. And I think that needs to be thought through very, very clearly. So, coming to the end of my slide presentations, it would be good to get into some questions, like who will be affected the most? We have to think of the most vulnerable sections of our society, because that is where you're finding large numbers of early marriages taking place. Their fear is the girl's security, because we have put in the entire dignity and respect of the family in the entire, as it were to say, the virginity of the girl child. Whole issue of dignity, she is responsible for it. And that is why so many times you hear poor parents saying that we want to get her married off fast, because how can we take care of her? Again, if education, yes, we certainly want the girls to have the education. Nobody is not wanting girls to have children, both boys and girls, and definitely girls who have been denied and who have been, discriminated. Certainly, education is their right. But think of the poor parents. They say if our girls get educated, their aspirations go up. And when we go in search of groom, the demands from the groom side increase, we are unable to meet it. So what happens? So there is the issue of security, there is the issue of, more dowry demands if the girl gets a little more educated. And then, if the girl decides to be single, but that also the society is not willing to accept. There are these pressures. The patriarchal controls are so strong. Are our rural areas equipped with adequate skill training for the girls so that they could have gainful employment? The situation is that even with education today, because of the pandemic, etc., there's so many who are unemployed. So we have to think of providing those mechanisms by which the girl children can really be enabled to get into gainful employment if they want to pursue their education. But the parents have to have some kind of support. And if daily wage earners, they are on the brinks of impoverishment. Virtual survival has become such an issue in the current situation. And in this kind of a situation, to try and moot in this kind of a law without any adequate preparations underway, I think is very, very dangerous. And also, is there really the political will to do these things the right way? I think if the motive behind this, perhaps, as I see, I'm open to a debate on this, is to try and introduce the Uniform Civil Code. Again, are we targeting certain sections? Is also a question that's being posed. So with that, I will close my presentation and open for questions, because I think this is an issue that requires a lot of discussion. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. It's open for discussion now. Students, you can interact with the madam on any of the issue, not only on the raising of age of marriage.
Yeah.
Madam can clarify. You can talk on any issue related to women. Students, please unmute yourself and talk. Otherwise, you can text your doubts on the chat box.
There is such silence. They're all thinking.
Yes. It's really a very debatable issue. You can talk to madam. You can express your doubts. I think
it should also be open to the faculty, anybody who
yes,
has
madam. Yes, anyone can.
Because it is an issue that it is an issue that
yes, madam,
has the pros and cons.
Yeah, ma'am. I'm Dr. Rajani from the Department of Home Science, ma'am.
Yes.
Very nice presentation. Really, this topic is also very needed. It's nowadays. It's very important for the girls also to think about it. As you said, it is the responsibility of all stakeholders. I feel it, ma'am. The parents, social activists, academicians, and all of them should work for it and should come. They should justify whether to raising the age is essential or not. But I feel it raising the age of marriage is required, ma'am. I feel it. Because after, suppose if we give that choice to the girls, so they will get the higher education and maybe they will get the maturity to think in a proper line also. They will have the choice to select their life partner also. Yeah.
I completely agree with you. Certainly, we want our girls to be educated and move on. But I'm thinking of the hundreds and thousands who are really poor and in the rural areas.
Yes.
How is it going to impact them? For us belonging to the middle class, maybe it's different because our girls are getting educated, they're going out, they're moving out, etc. But in the rural areas, it's really, really very difficult. And that is why child marriages are still taking place over there.
Yes.
So there's some kind of a mechanism has to be there to enable this whole process. We certainly want, because I think as women's rights activists, education is key for women's empowerment.
Yes.
There's no denying about it. But we have to understand the underlying causes of child marriage and address that.
Yes.
Once you address that, you won't even need a law to increase the age of marriage.
Yes, that's
it will happen automatically. That is our concern, actually.
Participants, it's open for discussion, please.
It will be good if they all would open up their videos.
Yes. Yeah. Something
Somebody's
is there
put
on
a
the chat box. Yes,
question
ma'am.
on this chat box. Parents are in a way that high dowry will give her child good life, and even a girl will marry. Condemn of giving it. Until now, you have said if a girl educated, independent, and they get justice overall, but at present, yes, I know this is something that we are also realizing, that girls themselves are also wanting the dowry. See, I think we have to understand this whole aspect of dowry is linked to property rights. Earlier, I think Madam Jayashree is from Kerala, right? So she will bear me out with this. There used to be a practice earlier which was known as Stridhan, which was given as a security to the daughter to take care of in times of any distress or problems. And that security of Stridhan over the years got degenerated into this practice of dowry, which has become a negotiable instrument during marriage. And it's also linked up to the whole thing of property rights, because many times you will find a lot of parents saying that we don't give dowry to our daughters because we give them, we don't give property to our daughters because we give dowry. We have to do a grand marriage for them. So we are spending so much of money. And now the girls themselves also, I feel that we are really going backwards, because at one time the girls would stand up and say, we don't want dowry. But now the girls, the educated girls, are saying, okay, we want it. And in fact, they're wanting even the marriages to be done in such a lavish way, destiny marriages and I mean, all kinds of things that you're seeing in the present day. It's also, you have to also understand, it's also linked up to the whole issue of globalization, the entire consumerist culture that we are facing in today's day and age. So therefore, you're finding the girls are also wanting that. And I say it is very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. That's the reality that we are facing. I hope I have answered you, Saishriya. You put the question in the chat. Okay, thank you.
Nija, Jayashree is there. See?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Jayashree madam is there. Madam, can you able to unmute yourself, Jayashree madam? Try.
Well, I think she's having a problem again.
Yeah,
unmuting
maybe.
herself.
Yes, madam. We're not able to hear you, Jayashree madam. We can see you, but
Can't
your
hear
voice
you.
is, yeah.
Yes. No, she's unmuted. She's muted.
Yes, madam. Still you are on mute.
Can the host unmute her?
I'll ask them, madam. No, madam. We can't hear you.
Dr. Neeraja, but it is
Yes.
audible to others.
Is it?
Yes, it is audible to me. Yeah.
Can you hear
Yes,
Jayashree?
Professor Savitri is speaking. Means it is audible, madam, for us. I don't
No,
know.
But
she's
we are
on
not.
mute. Yeah,
We
we're
are not able to. Savitri.
Not audible. Savitri
We are
garu.
not able to hear Jayashree.
లేదు లేదు వినిపిస్తుంది.
So can you hear Jayashree?
No, madam.
That's what we are asking.
Jayashree madam, నీకు కొంచెం అన్మ్యూట్ చెయ్యరా? మేడం అన్మ్యూట్ చేసుకోలేకపోతున్నారు. చాలా సేపటి నుంచి స్ట్రగుల్ అవుతున్నారు.
It is audible.
Can you hear? Can you
Yes,
hear?
yes.
Now it's
Yes,
okay.
you're audible
Yes,
now.
Jayashree.
Now it's
Okay.
audible at last.
Now it's okay.
Okay.
We're all able to
Thank
hear you now.
Yeah, thank you. At the outset, I congratulate the Department of Women Studies, Center for Women Studies, and Center for Safety of Women in the Makla University for arranging this important webinar in connection with the National Girl Child Day that was celebrated on 24th of January. And as the speakers of earlier speakers, Professor Sandhya Rani has given an outline of this today's webinar topic, and again an elaborate presentation of Asha Ramesh. She has elaborately given the marriage acts and the raising the age at marriage on different periods and the legal or laws associated with the child marriage. And also she has elaborately explained the challenges behind this raising the age at marriage. Then as Professor Asha Ramesh said, I too accept that without having a proper preparation or the elaborate discussion on various stakeholders, without having an awareness creation, this law introducing in the Lok Sabha, it was very unfortunate. At the same time, most of the
is the main producer.
Can you hear? Can you hear?
Yes, Jayashree.
Yes.
Carry on, please.
Yeah, most of the political parties has objected, especially the opposition, they have raised many queries about this issue. And in the public also, most of the people discussions or debates are going on. So it is the time for us to think about whether to raise the age at marriage, or what are the preliminary or the preparations is needed. As we all know that the age at marriage in 1978, it has raised to 18 years for girls and 21 years for boys. Then what happened all these years when we analyze the statistics? As Professor Sandhya Rani already informed, the NFHS 2019 recent results showed that nearly 23% of the people or the girls are getting married below the age of 18 years. And even the case of boys also, 1 in 5, they are getting the marriage before 21 years. In that scenario, what is the use of increasing the age at marriage or raising the age at marriage? We have to think of so many other issues. As the flagship program of Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, that has given a very good result in the educational scenario of the girls, especially the girls. But still, the higher education or on the skill development, as Asha Madam said, or the financial security of girls, where is the, or that is important. Without having a financial security, how this marriage age will improve, whether what will give any change in the society. And so many societal norms are there. The family.
Her voice is gone again.
Suddenly there is a
Yes, yes.
again she
Can I?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
you're audible, audible.
Okay, Jayashree.
Yeah. So the age of marriage increasing without having the proper administrative and the other infrastructural facilities, it is a waste, what we can say. So the debate is on that the pros and cons of this raising the age at marriage. So one should have education, employment, and empowerment. That is important. 3 is. Without having a financial security, the girls getting age at marriage or raising the age at marriage 21 for gender equality, that is not a acceptable term. We can say that gender equality for boys and girls, we can think of that. That is, as Madam says, means some of the law commission, they say that the equal or equal age at marriage means both of them should have at the age of 18 years. That is also we can think of. Then another thing is that that sexuality. Means mostly the rural areas, the parents wants to settle down their girls because they are afraid or the security is not there. Most of the girls lives in the unsecure circumstances. The parents will go to the farm or some other job, the girls who will look after the girls. And so many cases of POCSO cases, we know that. And even the POCSO cases, 18 years is the age of the girls. So without having proper changes in these laws, it is very difficult, or it is very foolishness to raise the age at marriage. We can say that. So in this debate, we have to make awareness about the whether to raise the age at marriage or whether to change the social system. We have to think of. Then how to make the boys and girls sensitive. Gender sensitivity is more important. Even nowadays, as Madam said about the Kerala, the dowry or the property rights, we had years of that. From the beginning itself, we have the property rights, but still dowry is very high. Dowry in the sense, the girls' parents, they want to give as a gift. But recently, I have observed that so many educated families, the dowry cases and the dowry, because of dowry, so many murders are happening in the society. So we had a Dowry Prohibition Act, even 1960, 56, like that. But what happened to these dowry cases? Dowry cases are increasing, and giving and taking dowry is punishable, but nobody is caring.
Again. Oh.
Same problem.
I think there's some problem at her end, probably.
Yes, ma'am. Poor network, I think.
It's muted.
Encountering some network issues.
Yeah.
It will come, I think.
Meanwhile, all the participants, please turn on your mics once. Let me take one screenshot.
Mics,
Videos,
not mics,
videos.
Videos.
Please, videos, yes. Videos, yes. Turn on your videos once. Everyone, students, participants, please.
Students haven't had a question.
Shanti, Shravani, please, Ramya. Open your mics once. Sorry, videos once.
Savitri Madam also.
Yeah, where is she? I am not able to see her. Savitri Madam, Sita Madam.
Savitri garu, video on cheskondi, please.
Sita
To
Madam.
take a pic. Nazreen Mulane, please turn on your video. Savitri Madam. Vani. Rakhi Tiwari. Please turn on your video. Savitri, you also.
Yes.
I turned on.
Oh, thank
Yes.
you. Kamakshi, please.
Thank you.
1 minute, 1 minute. Yes.
ఎక్కడ జాయిన్ అవుతున్నావు బిఎడ్ మా ఊర్లో ఈ ఊరంటే నాకేం అమ్మా
Savitri Madam, please mute your mic, please. Turn on your video. Yes, thank you. I think Jayashree Madam is calling. 1 minute, ma'am. I'll attend her call.
Okay.
Jayashree Madam called me just now. She's having some network issue at home. She's unable to join. And so it's time to express my sincere gratitude to the expert speaker, Asha Madam, for sparing her time, making it possible to join with us. And my sincere thanks to Jayashree Madam also. So I request Dr. Rajni Madam, head in charge of psychology department and program coordinator of Center for Women's Safety, to give her concluding remarks and also propose vote of thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Neeraja. Am I audible, Neeraja?
Yes, very much audible.
Yeah, so very good afternoon to all. A warm and graceful day to all the dignitaries, participants, and everyone attended to this program. It is indeed my privilege to provide concluding remarks and a vote of thanks on this occasion. All of us know, and Professor Sanja Madam also said very clearly, the National Girl Child Day focuses on the inequality faced by girls to promote the education, health, and nutrition of the girls, and to create awareness about the rights of the girl child. Spreading the messages and opening up of our views on girls' challenges is the need of the day. If right actions are taken in right time for addressing the challenges with the cooperation from every segment of the society, definitely, if it happens, definitely we can achieve women empowerment. And we can see that in our community also, in our society. And today our chief guest, Professor Jayashree Madam, she also highlighted the need for creating awareness on raising the marriage age. And a lot of things are going on, the debates are going on that, but still there is a necessary to think about it also. Madam has mentioned very clearly about the situations, about the financial independence, financial security, and also the need for empowerment for the girls. So really, it's a very good information, and it's a thought-provoking lecture also. And coming to our invited speaker, Asha Ramesh Garu. Madam, thank you very much for your enlightening talk on raising the age, marriage age for the girls. So really, it's a need of a very timely topic and a need of the day also. And as you said, lot of many pros and cons are there for raising the legal age for the marriage also. I think the research also showed that there is a correlation between the age of the marriage, malnutrition, pregnancies, and the health of the girls also. So all of these can be put in mind, and all the stakeholders have to work a lot and justify whether there is a need to raise the legal age of the marriage or not. But a lot of challenges have to be addressed in this also. So thank you very much, ma'am. And at this moment, just I would like to mention here, our university established Center for Women's Safety in January 2021. It is a collaborative community-based initiative for a gender sustainable sensitivity. So we are taking up of many activities under this Center for Women's Safety, like creating awareness about the cyber crime, violence against women, and so many eve teasing, and women's safety app, Disha app also. So actually, as you said, spreading the messages, creating the awareness on any topic related to the young girls and women is very much essential. So definitely we'll take up such activities under the able guidance of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Jamina Duvuru, through the Center for Women's Safety also. So really it's a need of day to think about it, all this, about the education of the girls, marriage age of the girls, financial independence of the girls, and what to do and how to overcome the lot of challenges faced by the girls. As Asha Madam said, in the rural areas, the girls are facing a lot of problems. So there is a lot to work out also. And there is what is called long-term plans are also necessary to come out to face the challenges, long-term action plans for addressing the challenges with the cooperation from every segment of the society. So thank you very much, Professor Jayashree Madam, and also Asha Ramesh Madam, for being with us as valuable experts on this platform today. So definitely all our students and all our faculty members got, it's a unique perspective, what you have said also. Very good information. All of us benefited through your lectures also. And finally, I'm very happy to be here to thank our sincere and heartfelt thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Jamina Duvuru Madam, for supporting us to take up This type of the activities which are related to the woman empowerment, and she's also very active person in involving the woman empowerment activities. So our sincere thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, and I thank our Registrar, Professor D.M. Mamata Garu, for her constant support to conduct this type of programs. And Professor, no doubt, the organizing secretary, Professor Sandhya Rani Madam, always, she is very active and she encourages the team members to take up the activities related to the women issues and young girls and everything. Thank you very much, Madam, for all your support. And always I'm very thankful to the Department of Women's Studies for involving me in all the activities. So as a home scientist and as in charge of the psychology head, and also as the program coordinator of the Center for Women's Safety, always I was given chance to involve in women-related activities by the Department of Women's Studies. And I'm very thankful to all the participants who participated, who are here on this platform. Definitely, this information will be helpful for you. So not only, though you are not posing the questions now, you are welcome to clarify your doubts. You can contact Dr. Neeraja also for your clarifications. She will do it definitely. And I thank all the team members of the Department of Women's Studies and Center for Women's Studies also for their active participation and support in conducting this program very successfully. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to everybody. And thank you once again to the Padmavati Vishwavidyalaya for this opportunity, and to the respected Vice Chancellor, Professor Jayashree, and all the other faculty members and students. So thank you so much. And thank you, Neeraja.
Thank you, ma'am. It's my privilege to have you here.
Thank you, Asha Garu. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, Neeraja, congratulations
Oh,
for successful conduction. Thank you very much for involving me.
you are there
Thank you.
behind this program, no? Thank you, Madam Asha, Madam, once again from our university. Hope you will extend your support in future also to conduct these kind of
Most welcome.
programs.
Anything to do with women's rights, I'm there. That's my passion.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rajini
Lord.
and Neeraja.
Thank you,
Congratulations
madam. Thank you,
to all the
madam.
stakeholders
Madam.
here. Thank you, Jayashree, for being with us today.
Yes.
Once again, I thank Asha Ramesh Madam
Madam.
for your
Thank
valuable message. Thank you to all the students who have joined and made this program successful. Okay, Neeraja,
Yes,
anything
madam.
else?
Yeah, we can leave, madam. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.